The killer whale is often called just that, a killer whale. It hunts sharks, whales, and seals. It attacks animals weighing dozens of tons and emerges victorious. But do you know what? Never, not once in the entire history of observations, has it killed a human in the wild. Not a single confirmed fatal case, not a single attack with serious consequences. In all the time scientists have been observing killer whales in the ocean, zero. And this is where the most interesting part begins, because this animal is not some good-natured little dolphin that likes to swim alongside a boat. This is the planet's apex predator, a creature with a brain that, by some metrics, surpasses the human brain. A creature that lives in a family, teaches its children, grieves for its dead, and remembers everything. Why doesn't it touch us? What goes on in that head when a killer whale sees a person in the water? Today we will break down the killer whale from A to Z, its biology, hunting, family, intelligence, and its relationship with humans, which turned out to be much more complex than anyone could have expected. Stay until the end. There will be something there that will change your view of this animal forever. Let's start with the basics, but something important. The killer whale is called a killer whale, and that is immediately two misconceptions in two words. First of all, it is not a whale. Secondly, killer is a word that paints a completely wrong picture of what it actually deserves. The killer whale is the largest member of the dolphin family. Yes, it's a dolphin, just a very, very big one. Males reach up to 9 meters in length and weigh up to 10 tons. Females are smaller, about 7 meters, and 5 to 6 tons. For comparison, that is roughly like 2 passenger cars, parked one behind the other, only alive and with teeth. The nickname killer whale is not scientific, but folk. It was given by Spanish sailors back in the 15th century, watching killer whales attack whales. The literal translation of the original Spanish is whale killer. Somewhere in translation, the words swapped places, and it became killer whale. A lucky mistake for a predator that can use a fearsome reputation. The black and white coloring is not just beautiful, it is camouflage, sharpened by millions of years of evolution. The dark back makes the killer whale invisible from below against the dark depths. The white belly makes it invisible from above against the bright sky. Prey does not see it from below or from above until it is too late. The white patches on the sides probably also help pack members recognize each other in murky water during a hunt. Speed: 55 kilometers per hour. For a creature weighing several tons, this is roughly like a truck accelerating like a sports car. The secret lies in the structure of the body. Powerful muscles along the spine work together with a layer of elastic connective tissue woven into the tendons like thousands of rubber bands. When the tail goes one way, the tissue stretches and then snaps it back like a slingshot. With each muscle contraction, 87% of the expended energy is returned back. This is almost perfect biomechanics. Engineers still study the structure of the killer whale's body as a benchmark for movement in fluids. Where do killer whales live? Everywhere, literally from the Arctic to the Antarctic, from tropical seas to the cold currents off the coast of Norway. The killer whale is the only large marine mammal that has mastered all the oceans of the planet without exception. They are seen off the coast of Kamchatka and off the coast of Patagonia, in the Mediterranean Sea, and in the Sea of Japan. Wherever there is water and there is food, there are killer whales. Even in the Arctic, where almost no other large predators venture, life expectancy is no less impressive than their size. Males live an average of 30 to 40 years. Females are a completely different story. Some females live up to 90 years. 90. This is comparable to a human lifespan. And this fact as you will soon see, is of colossal importance for the whole pod. The dorsal fin of a male killer whale is a story on its own. It can reach almost 2 meters in height, straight, sharp, visible from afar. In females, the fin is significantly smaller and slightly curved. By the shape and condition of the dorsal fin, researchers identify specific individuals, just as people recognize acquaintances by their faces. Many killer whales have unique curves, nicks, or scars on their fins, by which they can be identified throughout their lives. This allows scientists to conduct long-term observations of individual families without the need to capture the animals. Killer whales feed depending on which population they belong to. Some eat exclusively fish and can travel thousands of kilometers in pursuit of their favorite salmon. Others specialize in marine mammals, seals, sea lions, and sometimes whales. These two groups are called resident and transient. There is a complete gulf between them in behavior, dialect, and even genetics. They live in the exact same waters, see each other, and completely ignore each other. Different cultures, different worlds. Some scientists have made even bolder statements. They claim that transient and resident killer whales are not just different populations. Their culture has divided them so deeply that it is only a matter of time before they become different species. Not because of geography, not because they were separated by mountains or oceans, but because they were separated by culture. This is perhaps the only known example of cultural differences creating a new biological species. Just as some humans evolved the ability to tolerate lactose as cow's milk became part of their diet, killer whales are evolving due to their own choices and traditions. First, about family, because without it, nothing else can be understood. If you want to understand a killer whale, forget the image of a lone predator. A killer whale is, above all, a social, family creature. And its family is structured in a way that gives even anthropologists food for thought. At the core is matriarchy. The pod is led by the oldest female, not the strongest male, not the largest, exactly the oldest female. She remembers the most. She knows where to feed in a lean year, knows the migration routes of fish, knows which places are best avoided. Her knowledge is the collective memory of the pod, accumulated over decades. When resources are scarce, pods with living older females find food significantly more successfully than those where these females are absent. And this is where something completely amazing begins. Female killer whales are among the few animals on Earth that go through menopause. This is an extremely rare phenomenon in nature. Besides killer whales, it is known in short-finned pilot whales and narwhals, plus humans. In the vast majority of animals, females reproduce until the end of their lives, but female killer whales stop giving birth around 30 to 40 years of age and live for several more decades after that. Why? It would seem that from an evolutionary standpoint, this makes no sense. An individual that does not reproduce does not pass its genes further. But science has found the answer, and it is called the grandmother effect. After a female stops giving birth, she stops competing for resources with her own children and grandchildren. All her energy goes into something else. She becomes the living library of the pod. In years when salmon disappears from familiar places, it is the oldest females who are the first to know where to swim. They remember routes that haven't been used for 20 to 30 years and lead the pod to places where the young have never been. Studies have shown that when the oldest female dies, the mortality rate among her offspring in the following years increases sharply. The pod literally loses a part of its collective mind. Now about the sons. Honestly, when I found out about this, I had to double-check it against several sources because it sounds almost unbelievable. Male killer whales never leave their mother. You understand? Never. They stay by her side until her death. In most animals, males leave their natal group upon reaching maturity. This is a basic evolutionary strategy that prevents inbreeding. Male killer whales stay with their mother, mate with females from other pods during brief encounters, and return home. The consequences of this are striking. When a mother dies, the mortality rate of her adult sons increases sharply within the next 2 years. Moreover, the older the son, the higher the risk. An adult male weighing 8 tons, 20 to 30 years old, and he still needs his mother. This completely challenges the usual view of predators as self-sufficient survival machines. A pod usually consists of 3 generations: the grandmother, her children, and her grandchildren. All together, always close by. This is called a matrilineal group. Several such groups that regularly hang out together form a subpod, and several subpods form a clan. Each pod speaks its own dialect. This is not a metaphor. It is literally true. Scientists began recording and analyzing the sounds of different pods back in the 70s and discovered that each group has its own unique set of calls and whistles that others do not have. Young killer whales learn the dialect from their mother and other members of the pod, just like children learn a language. By the dialect, you can determine which clan an animal belongs to. It is a cultural marker, like an accent in humans from different regions. Furthermore, pods with similar dialects usually have closer genetic ties. Write in the comments, did you know that killer whales have such a complex social life? I'm sure for most, it's a complete surprise. Killer whales grieve for their dead. This is perhaps the hardest thing I learned while preparing this video. In 2018, a female from one of the Pacific pods carried the body of her stillborn calf on her nose for 17 days, refusing to let it go. When the body began to sink underwater, she would dive down again and again to lift it back up. Other members of the pod stayed close by, sometimes also touching the calf. Researchers who watched this said it was impossible to look at what was happening without a tightening in your chest. Several times a year, when conditions are right, several subpods of the same clan gather together. This is called a superpod. Dozens, and sometimes hundreds of killer whales in one place. They don't hunt together. This is more of a social event. They circle, communicate, the youth play, and adults re-establish bonds with those they haven't seen in a long time. Researchers described these meetings as something akin to a festival, if, of course, one can apply such a word to killer whales. But observing this, according to them, truly feels exactly like that. Killer whales have a hierarchy, conflicts, and seniority. The oldest females manage the hunt. They make the decisions on where and how to attack. The youth observe and learn. Sometimes the elders specially create learning situations, releasing already caught prey so that the young can practice on their own. There have been cases where elders brought live prey to young ones who did not yet know how to hunt, just as they would bring a toy to a child. This is not instinct. This is a culture of passing knowledge down through generations. Talking about the behavior of killer whales without talking about their brain is like discussing the operation of a computer without mentioning the processor. Let's look inside. A killer whale's brain weighs from 5 to almost 7 kilograms. For comparison, the human brain weighs about 1 kilogram 400 grams. By absolute brain size, killer whales rank second among all animals, second only to the sperm whale. But it's not just the mass that matters, it's the structure. There is a metric called the gyrification index. It measures how heavily folded the cerebral cortex is, how many folds and convolutions it has. The more folds, the more nerve cells fit into a single volume, and the faster information is processed. In humans, this index is 2.2. In bottlenose dolphins, it's 5.6, and in killer whales, it's 5.7. This is the highest figure among all animals on Earth. A killer whale's brain is more folded than a human's. Personally, this is what hooked me the most in this topic. Not the size, not the speed. Exactly this brain. A creature we are used to perceiving as just a big fish, yet it thinks, remembers, feels, and quite possibly is self-aware. What does this mean in practice? Killer whales are capable of complex planning. They understand cause and effect relationships. They remember for a long time. They learn not only from their own experience, but also by observing others. They pass knowledge to the next generation, what scientists call the cultural transmission of skills. The insular cortex deserves a separate discussion. This is a special structure of the brain that in humans is associated with self-awareness, empathy, and the ability to feel the state of another. In killer whales, it is exceptionally well developed, perhaps better than in any other species. This means, or at least very convincingly suggests, that killer whales are capable of something akin to sympathy. They are aware of the state of other members of the pod. Perhaps that is why they help wounded companions, do not abandon the weak, and grieve for the dead. In 2001, scientists conducted a mirror test. Marks were placed on the bodies of killer whales, a light mark on a dark area and a dark mark on a light area. And then they were given a mirror. An animal without self-awareness perceives the reflection as another individual. An animal with self-awareness understands that it sees itself. The marked killer whales hung around the mirror for a long time, turning their heads, studying their marks from different angles. Before the marks were applied, this behavior did not occur. This is not 100% proof of self-awareness. Science is cautious in its formulations, but it is a very convincing sign of a creature that is aware of its own body. Researchers have also documented something in killer whales that can be called long-term memory in a social context. It is known that individuals recognize each other after many years of separation. In one case, two females separated and placed in different marine parks for several years, immediately re-established familiar communication patterns upon reunification, as if they had never parted. This is not just memory of a face or a silhouette. It is memory of a specific personality. Now about echolocation. Killer whales emit clicks, high-frequency sounds with a frequency of 20 to 60 kilohertz. These clicks travel through the water, bounce off objects, and return. Specialized fatty tissue in the front part of the head, called the melon, captures the reflected signal and transmits it to the brain. As a result, the killer whale receives a three-dimensional image of the surrounding space. It sees with sound at a distance of up to 150 meters. In dark water, at great depths, where vision offers nothing. The most striking thing is not the range, but the accuracy. Killer whales are able to distinguish different species of fish using the echolocation signal. They hear the difference between Chinook salmon and other species of salmon, and purposefully hunt exactly the one they want. This is a level of sensory discrimination that surpasses the capabilities of many modern instruments. In addition to clicks, killer whales use whistles, short, high-frequency sounds used for quiet communication at close range, and also calls, which carry for many kilometers in the ocean and allow pods that have moved in different directions to stay in touch. 3 registers of communication, each for its own situation, like 3 different communication channels in one creature. Well, now to what makes the killer whale an apex predator: the hunt. Different populations have different specializations, but one thing unites them. No strategy works alone. It's all teamwork. Moreover, it's teamwork with planning, distribution of roles, and tactical adjustments made right during the attack. This is extremely rare in nature. The first strategy, and perhaps the most spectacular, intentional beaching. Off the coast of Argentina, in the Valdez Peninsula area, killer whales have mastered a style of hunting that takes your breath away. They literally throw themselves onto the beach, grab sea lions right at the water's edge, and return back to the ocean. It sounds simple. In practice, this is one of the most complex and dangerous maneuvers in the animal world. To beach itself and return, a killer whale needs to develop a speed of about 30 kilometers per hour right at the surface of the water, precisely calculate the angle of the shoreline slope, guess the timing of the wave, and manage to turn parallel to the land before heading into the shallows. A fraction of a second, a meter of space, and everything can go wrong. If it misses, it gets stuck. Gravity begins to press on the lungs. Muscles cannot support its own weight without water. A killer whale dies in a few hours. A mistake costs a life. That is why this is taught for years. A mother first checks the shore herself, time after time, tests the angle, evaluates the pebbles, looks at how the wave recedes. Then she gently pushes the calf toward the edge of the water, just so it can feel the solid ground beneath its body and overcome its instinctive fear of land. Then she demonstrates it herself in full force, and only then comes the first independent attempt. First attempts are often unsuccessful. Sometimes a calf goes too far and gets stuck. Then the mother swims right up to it and uses her movements to show how to rock back and forth to get out. Sometimes it takes hours. This is a real school with exams that you can fail. About 30 killer whales live along that stretch of the Valdez coast. Of these, only 13 have mastered the beaching technique. The rest could not or did not dare. This is a truly elite skill possessed by less than half of the pod. The second strategy, wave hunting in Antarctica. If beaching is sheer audacity, then this is pure engineering thought. Antarctic killer whales hunt seals that lie on ice floes. The problem, getting to the seal directly is impossible. The ice floe is solid, and even a very strong killer whale cannot break it with a strike, but it can create a wave. A group of killer whales accelerates synchronously underwater, about 15 meters from the ice floe, as close to the surface as possible without sticking out. The seal does not see them, only the dark water. At the last moment, they simultaneously dive sharply under the water. The movement of their bodies creates a vortex that gives birth to a wave a meter or more high. The first wave breaks the ice floe. The seal moves to a larger piece. The killer whales surround the new ice floe and begin methodically, wave after wave, to reduce it. They clear away pieces of ice that interfere with acceleration. They push the ice floe into open water, where it is more convenient to attack. They think several steps ahead. When the ice floe shrinks to the right size, the final wave follows. The seal slides into the water. Scientists who observed this for the first time said they found it hard to believe their eyes. Such a degree of coordination and foresight in an animal. According to one researcher, this surpasses the level of teamwork that most groups of humans are capable of. The third strategy, hunting gray whales. This is the hardest and longest operation in the killer whale's arsenal. A gray whale weighs 40 tons. Even for a killer whale, this is an impossible task alone, so the team works again. The pod finds a mother gray whale with a calf during migration. 2 or 3 killer whales take on the mother, ramming her, distracting her, and not allowing her to focus on protection. The rest deal with the calf. The tactic, not to bite, but to ram. The massive, heavy skull of a killer whale is a weapon. They strike the calf, trying to weaken it, then start pushing it under the water, preventing it from rising to the surface to take a breath. The mother defends desperately, but there are too many of them. Such an attack can last 2 to 3 hours, sometimes longer. When it's all over, killer whales eat only the tongue and soft tissues of the mouth cavity. The whale's blubber layer is too thick to bite through, but even that is hundreds of kilograms of food for which the pod spent hours of work. A conscious, rational choice. Take what you can get to and leave. Researchers who watched the hunt for gray whales described what they saw as one of the most complex collective actions ever recorded in animals. During an attack, each member of the pod knows its role. Some attack, others hold position, others wait their turn and swap out when the front ones get tired. This is not a chaotic pack. This is a well-coordinated team where everyone understands the common goal. The most striking thing in this hunt is persistence. Killer whales do not back down. If an attack fails, they regroup and start over. They can pursue a target for hours, changing tactics on the fly. It is this persistence, combined with intelligence, that makes them invincible at the top of the food chain. And finally, the fourth strategy, which amazed the entire scientific world: hunting great white sharks. The great white shark is a symbol of ocean terror. 3 to 4 meters, powerful jaws, the perfect apex lone predator. But before a killer whale, it is practically helpless. Killer whales pursue sharks in pairs or small groups. They ram the shark in the side. The blow stuns it. Then they flip it upside down. In this position, the shark enters a state of tonic immobility. This is a reflex catalepsy, complete immobilization. It doesn't resist. Then comes the most incredible part. Killer whales open up the shark with surgical precision and extract only the liver. Nothing else. The liver of a great white shark can weigh several hundred kilograms and is rich in oily fat with colossal caloric content. Killer whales know this and take only what they need. The rest of the body simply sinks to the bottom. This phenomenon, where fear of a predator changes the behavior of prey throughout the region, scientists call the ecology of fear. Killer whales affect not only those they eat, but also those who simply know of their presence. When sharks leave an area because of killer whales, it changes the entire ecosystem. The pressure on the fish that sharks hunt changes. The distribution of fur seals changes. The behavior of other predators changes. The mere appearance of killer whales triggers a chain of changes for many kilometers around. Great white sharks are so afraid of killer whales that when they meet, they immediately leave the hunting area and sometimes do not return for more than a year. Researchers in South Africa observed, as soon as killer whales appeared off the coast, sharks within a radius of several kilometers disappeared within a few hours. The shark diving tourism business in those places completely ground to a halt for a time. Did you know that great white sharks are afraid of someone? Write in the comments. Was this a surprise for you? And now we have reached the question we started with. Why doesn't the killer whale touch humans? In the wild, there is not a single confirmed fatal case of a killer whale attacking a human. 0. In the entire history of systematic observations. 0. There have been times when killer whales swam right up to divers, circled around yachts for hours. In recent years, off the coast of Spain and Portugal, cases have been recorded where killer whales approached sailing yachts and nudged them. This initially frightened sailors. Some boats received damage, but scientists figured it out. Most likely, these were young individuals just playing with an interesting object. Just as young killer whales off the coast of Argentina practice on seaweed before a real hunt. Not a single person was hurt. Why don't they attack us? There is no definitive answer, but there are several versions. First, humans are not part of their dietary preferences. Killer whales of different populations specialize in specific prey. fish, seals, whales. A human in the water does not look like any of the familiar hunting objects, neither in shape, nor in smell, nor in sound. Second, intelligence. Killer whales are smart enough to recognize humans as something separate, not a threat, not food, a different category. Third, and perhaps the most convincing, culture. If no mother has ever hunted humans, then no one taught the children to do so either. And everything a killer whale knows, it learns from its family. Hunting preferences, strategies, dialect. All this is passed down from generation to generation. The tradition of not attacking humans could have developed just like any other tradition of the pod, and now it is simply part of their cultural code. A completely different story unfolded in captivity. For several decades, killer whales were kept in marine parks, primarily in the US. Shows, pools, trainers, millions of spectators. This seemed spectacular and safe until it became obvious that it was not. Cases of attacks on trainers were recorded, including those with a tragic outcome. Cases that had never happened in the wild in the entire history of observations. This became the reason for a serious conversation about what is actually happening to this animal behind the glass of the pool. One conclusion scientists made quite confidently: an animal with high intelligence, a complex social life, and the tightest family bonds, when isolated, deprived of family, familiar space, and meaningful activity, behaves differently than in its natural environment. This speaks not so much about the killer whales themselves, but about what happens to a highly intelligent creature in conditions for which it was not created. I remember when I first read about this, I caught myself thinking, that is the real mystery. Not how they hunt, but why they don't do it to us, out there in the ocean, where no one is holding them back. Now, in many countries, keeping killer whales in captivity is restricted or completely banned. And in the ocean, killer whales still do not touch us, though they could. For all its power, the killer whale is vulnerable, and the threats it faces have nothing to do with natural predators. It has none. These threats are created by us. First and most serious, chemical pollution. Polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, a group of industrial chemicals that were used worldwide until the 80s and were then banned. But in the ocean, they haven't gone anywhere. PCBs practically do not break down. They accumulate in the fatty tissue of marine animals and concentrate at each level up the food chain. The killer whale is at the top of this chain. It accumulates everything. In females, PCBs are partially transferred to calves through milk in the first months of life. This means that each new calf begins life already with a dose of toxins. High concentrations suppress immunity and reduce reproductive function. Some populations in Europe, particularly off the coast of the UK, now number only a few individuals. Scientists say it bluntly: without changes, these populations are doomed to fade away. Not a single calf has been born there for several years. The second threat: reduction of the food supply. Resident populations that feed on salmon suffer from its disappearance. Salmon is declining due to commercial fishing, destruction of spawning rivers, and changes in water temperature. Killer whales have to swim further and further. Females give birth less often, and fewer calves survive. The southern resident population off the coast of North America, one of the most studied in the world, now numbers just over 70 individuals. This is already the brink. Third, noise pollution. For a creature whose whole life is built on sound, this is a quiet catastrophe. The constant noise of ship engines, military sonars, and industrial installations literally drowns out their world. They cannot hunt normally. They cannot communicate normally. Stress, disorientation, disruption of communication within the pod. Fourth, accidental entanglement in fishing nets. Young individuals suffer especially as they have not yet learned to recognize the danger. For a pod where every calf counts, this is a blow to the future. Now, killer whales are included in international conservation lists. A number of regional populations are recognized as endangered. How effective the protection turns out to be depends largely on how quickly chemical pollution can be reduced and the food supply restored. Scientists and conservation organizations are working on these threats, reducing the volume of salmon catches in key regions and establishing restrictions on shipping near the habitats of sensitive populations. In Canada, restrictions have been introduced on ships approaching killer whales of the southern resident population. Marine protected areas have been created in several countries where fishing is limited. But the main obstacle, PCBs in the water and in the fatty tissue of marine animals, will not go anywhere for many more decades, even if all sources of pollution are stopped right now. These chemicals are already in the system. They will circulate in food chains for a long time. This is perhaps the hardest part of this topic. Realizing that the problem was created over 100 years, but solving it will take much longer. The killer whale is not just an animal. It is a mirror in which we unexpectedly see something familiar. Family, education, grief, culture, intelligence. It could kill us, but it doesn't. And that, I think, says more about it than all its hunting strategies combined. If the information was useful, I would be grateful for your support. The U-Money number is in the description.